Hello and welcome to my Tamiya face. I'm working on the Pajero again. It's nearly done. It's got a new colour, it's got a new look, and it's a lot more appropriate. Alright, you're down there. It's a lot more appropriate to the chassis. Look, it's completely fucked. Am I too close? Yeah. Anyway, if you saw the first part, it was red and quite sort of shiny and new looking. And now it's neither of those things. I decided to weather it. Added loads of rust, done a sort of crappy repair that somebody's done, and got some overspray. I've picked these plastic bits out in black because they seem to be like that in real life. More rust, just faded paint, and the worst of it I've saved for the bonnet here. This on the grounds that it would get hot a lot from the engine, it would get a lot of heat from the sun, and the idea is the paint there has failed. Still need to do the bumpers and the side skirts, the kit. My original plan was to fit alloys, which I got some cheap alloys, but they didn't look right. At first as well, I thought they looked really jeepy and I didn't think they'd suit, but actually they don't look totally unlike the stock Pajero. But, you know, they're just too shiny with this, so I thought I'd try a bit of weathering and rusting on that. It's still not, it's not great. I'm not as pleased with the wheels as I am with the bodywork, but it's all right. I think the bodywork came out better. I'm sticking with the black windows for now, just for ease. I'm gonna try. I'll probably cut these out and put a clear screen in there. Leave the rest of them shaded, but that'll be phase 2. I'm going to need an interior for that, or you know, to build one. Not there yet. So underneath I've got this armour on. It's done quite well. I've given it a quick test around the garden, and as you can see, now the only problem, or the first problem, are these bolt heads. I think these are probably recessed if I bother to take it back off and look at the plastic. As it is, I have to have these sticking out, and they're the first thing that catches. Unfortunately, I really need to figure out some sort of extra skid to lift it over those, because I think they're catching quite badly. Otherwise, it's pretty successful, nice and smooth, doesn't catch. Really, the only change to the chassis since I last did an update is the steering thing, which I'll show you by just sort of doing this. There we go. So my GPM upgrade parts arrived. There's the part number if you want it. And this is what it replaces. A lot of the problem with this part is all of it. This tube, this is the section that passes through the chassis. And it's very much smaller than the hole. So it's just doing that all the time, just wobbling around. So what the GPM part does is add these little bearing caps, little holders, and a bearing in the top, another one presses in the bottom, bearing in the bottom, and it's a smaller bar that passes between and goes through these tiny bearings. You get bearings as well. I thought they were going to be bushes from the picture, you couldn't tell, but they're actually bearings in there. Nice touch. So this is an alloy piece. There's alloy under there, and it's all a lot more solid. Having filed away some plastic from there to try and create clearance and tried all sorts of bolt heads in there, there's just not room. You can't do it, which is annoying. And I wanted to use bolts instead of the Tamiya. I think they're ball-headed bolts. Ball-headed bolts. Ball-headed bolts that you get the little. These are also connected instead of with this piece of baling wire that Tamiya use. They're connected with a nice alloy bar. What GPM has rather annoyingly done is copy this design so that alloy bar attaches via bolts outside these 2 points, which immediately creates clearance issues because you've got bolt heads here and then you've got steering arms coming off there. So you can't really steer without these bolt heads getting in the way. I haven't explained that very well, but if you ever worked on one of these, you might know what I mean. Hence why I ended up having to use these things. There was just no other choice. You have to have a little rod end that clips on there. There's not clearance otherwise to get a rod end and a bolt. No matter what bolt I tried under there, it wasn't possible. That was annoying. And I didn't want to use these brass ones that Tamiya use because these are slightly undersized. And there's slop just in those. So I got some off eBay, some little black alloy ones, and they're a much tighter fit and take out almost all of the remaining slop. And you can see now, I'm wiggling there's a little bit still, wiggling that, but you can see this is moving just slightly. So at least half of that plays in actually this servo itself, in the where the arm attaches, whatever this pointy bit under there is called. It's probably a shaft as well, isn't it? Oh look, there's my battery tray. I started a new company, it's called Cobbletech. I've cobbled this together, just a sheet of alloy. I cut down the 2 posts in the back here. Derek from Holly Hill, he very kindly explained what those were. I couldn't find any pictures with anything bolted to it. It was for the mechanical speed controller in the original kit, which tells you something about how old this design is. So you don't need them. I trimmed those down, added some 7.5mm spacers under there, 4 bolts, done. I haven't changed the motor yet. It probably is too slow. I've switched to a 1060 instead of the axial thing I had in there because there was no drag brake on the axial. I think that's going to be fine. That probably does need to get quicker, to be honest, but the 35 turn I've ordered hasn't turned up yet because the post office is on strike, and you don't care about that. Really, I should weather the chassis. I should paint some of this shiny alloy. It looks a bit odd with the knackered body, but hey, that's for phase 2 as well, I think. And now it's back to Steve for the outro. Thanks, Steve. And that, as a man wise enough to never buy one of these Tamiya CC-01s once said, is all there is to say about that. Boo. It's me again. Boo. Sorry. Boo.